discussion with ODOT Region 4 Manager Brian Taylor to address the plans to improve one of the most dangerous intersections in Logan County at State Highway 74 and Waterloo Road. We've had several accidents, serious accidents and fatalities there, and I know that we've got some good news coming, what I anticipate good news coming on how we're going to do that. So Brian, if you'd like to.
Yes, sir. Well, first off, I'd like to start out by saying thank you. I very much appreciate the invite, and also thank you for this team effort. The improvements at State Highway 74 and Waterloo have been a team effort, not only but the Logan County, but also Oklahoma County, and Senator Bice has also been active and engaged throughout the process. The corridors important to us, and the safety of the traveling public is paramount. Last year we had the ability to put a project in the 8-year plan. We were on state highway safety monies were not available. My next option was to put a project in the 8-year construction work plan. This year, when we were, because it was in the plan, and it was the lowest dollar value project that I have of the 200 plus projects that are programmed. As a result of it being one of the least expensive projects, or the least expensive project, we're always bringing projects to a state of readiness, and I had some very large projects that I had estimates on ready to go this year. My estimates are getting fine-tuned, and we saw that we had the ability, we had some little extra money. And with the director of the Department of Transportation support, we visited about this. We thought that we need to take the opportunity to move that project from 2026 up to this year. So we visited with the Chief Traffic Engineer. The Chief Traffic Engineer, Chad Penley, agreed to expedite the process and start doing the engineering on his own. We've already started that. We've been working with Oklahoma County, looking to see if we can possibly reuse some of the equipment that's out there to expedite the project. One of the things, it takes about 6 months to develop a set of plans. There's two things that take a lot of time with signals. One of them is plan development, and the other one is the signal poles. The signal poles are made out of state. Everybody gets them out of Houston, and you can't order signal poles until you award the project. And so your 6 months worth of plan preparation for 2 to 3 months worth of solicitation, interview, the let, and then you award the project, and then the contractor who gets the award orders the signal poles, which could take up to 6 months. So something as simple as a traffic signal can take up to 18 months worth of time, but we are working diligently to reduce that time, and we do have some ideas. And to give you a few statistics about the corridor, we've invested over $136 million in State Highway 74 from Memorial Road north. And the investment's not over. We added an interchange at 164th into the 8-year plan this year. When you say, what is our vision for 74? Our vision for 74 is that one day it's probably going to be an urban expressway. Now, you don't see that. Those are unbudgeted wish list on my part. But what do we think the corridor's doing? We think it's one of the fastest growing corridors in the state of Oklahoma. And as a result, we're trying to match the investment level. What we're doing different at this location is we're coming at this with a three-prong approach. We're going to come at it with engineering, we're going to come at it with enforcement, and we're going to come at it with education. It's called our 3 E's. We've been able to, in the past, we've added engineering to the engineering in that back in 2005 we added beacons. After we've added beacons, we still had a series of accidents, and we came in and we oversized our signs. Then we came in and oversized our signs on the right and left, and then we came in and put up red flashing blinker signs in advance. So from the engineering standpoint, we've opened up the toolbox and used almost everything that we had at our disposal. The last was a traffic signal, and we're not able to put traffic signals in until they meet volume warrants, or there's 11 different warrants that you look at. And obviously there's been accidents at this location, but to meet the accident warrants, they have to be correctable. That is something else that's a little bit interesting with this intersection, and that's one of the reasons education is going to be one of the 3 E's, is that if you're from out of town and you're driving through this area, you're on alert, because now you've got blinking signs, you've got beacons, you've got signs on the right, you've got signs on the left, you've got rumble strip. If you're out of town, you're on alert. You're saying something's different with this intersection. If you're local, you drive through it every day. And the majority of the accidents that we're seeing are locals. And so from the education standpoint, what we want to let people know is maybe the most dangerous thing you do today is drive your vehicle. But you need to be as defensive as possible, and we're dealing with a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things that we can correct. There are a lot of things that we can't correct. So we're going to be working with Deer Creek Schools and also our NPR, and we're going to be talking a lot about educating the driving public about what their responsibilities are. Educate them about drive defensive. When you're out there, you may not be distracted, but the person, the opposing conflict could be distracted. So we're asking people to drive defensive. We're also, with cell phones are a huge distraction, but also with all the equipment that are on vehicles these days that require touch screens, or for whatever reason, you could have kids in the back. I've got a boy of my own that I have to tend to business occasionally with him. And, so we're going to come at it with the help of Deer Creek Public Schools in an education effort and educate the drivers to exactly what their responsibilities are and what we need you to do. Basically, I'm in a competition for the driver's attention. I'm in a competition for it, and I've got to win. And it's getting harder and harder these days with all the distractions. So we have engineering, and we have education, and enforcement is the last. We need your help, we need Oklahoma County's help, and we need the Highway Patrol's help to enforce. What would you enforce? Obviously you enforce speeds, obviously you enforce people rolling through stop signs. We're going to need your help. One of the best ways to get people's attention is get in their pocketbook. Unfortunately, that's what you need to do. And when we have an intersection like this where we're having compliance issues, we're going to ask for everybody's help. But again, this is a team effort, and this wouldn't be possible without all the parties involved. And there's some of the data. There's 10,000 vehicles a day at Waterloo on 74, and there's about close to 3,000 vehicles a day using Waterloo, the side street. And we're going to look for ways to expedite this project, and any help or any information I can be, or if I can help you with it, or you have an idea, be happy to share it with me. I do think that we have the ability to beat the 18-month time frame. I know in our press release we said 2020. It would be my goal to see these signal lights put in 2019, and I think that is a possibility. Senator Bice is certainly interested in it, and she's played a very active role and is very engaged, and she's already asked us that very question. We've been working with Ron with Oklahoma County. Ron's got some good ideas that we're trying to implement. But I'm here today mostly to say thank you to you for your support and your interest in transportation, and obviously for your interest in the safety of the traveling public. Be happy to answer any questions.
A couple of comments and observations. First of all, I really do appreciate taking the time to come visit with us about this really important safety issue in the county, both counties, Oklahoma County and Logan County. And we are working together diligently to help find solutions to that. The first question that I kind of have is, there seems to be a difference in the how fatalities get recorded at that intersection, and between what the news media reports and what gets put in the official fatality list that's maintained by ODOT, not throwing grapes or rotten fruit at you guys, but it seems to me that, I mean, we report 2 in the last 5 years, and the news media reports at least 4. That since I've been county commissioner, there's been 4 fatalities at that intersection. Maybe not exactly in that intersection, but caused by that intersection. And I'm wondering how does that? How do we?
Well,
how do we account?
I'll be more than happy to answer that.
Sure, I'm curious. I'm not, like I said, not throwing rotten fruit. I'm just trying to figure it out.
I think a lot of times, and we see this almost everywhere we go, that our data may not match. And one of the things that our fatalities almost always match. And one of the reasons why our fatalities almost always match is because OHP works all fatalities. And OHP turns in the records to us. So we as a county and as OHP, you're required to submit the accidents to an accident database. And you probably do that monthly, or you do that quarterly. So that database that is shared between DPS and ourselves, that database is only as good as what's been reported. We feel really confident in our fatality reports. The number of collisions, if it's a collision and it's worked by the counties, we have some counties, and obviously I have some cities inside my division that don't report any. And it really hurts them, because when they call up and they tell me they have a problem, I immediately go to the database and look. And I use that database to look for trends. When I have a trend, when I see something, when I have a trend, I usually have a countermeasure that I can apply to fix that trend. So when I'm looking at, if I have a lot of rear end accidents or sideswipe accidents, I know I need to put in a left turn lane. If I'm having a lot of angle accidents, I know that a traffic signal would work if the volumes are high. So we use the database. All that information that takes so much time to record after an accident is used by us. And our data is only as good as the information we have.
Sure.
And so if it was reported, we have it. If it was not reported, we don't have it. And I will tell you that the first thing that the news reports generally is from a bystander that is out there and says, you know what, there's been 20 accidents out here, and we pull a report and there's been 3 reported. Now, this is pretty standard for us. The main thing, and then when there are big discrepancies, we do contact the local law enforcement and ask them, where's our differences? And something else too is, we record the number of collisions. Sometimes local law enforcement or local will tell you how many people were involved, as opposed to the number of collisions. We have the number of collisions, and we do track the number of persons involved in each collision, but we're reporting the number of collisions. Sometimes they may be reporting the number of folks involved. And so some of it is semantics, but I have really complete confidence in our data, with the exception of our data is usually no better than 6 months old. So the time that it gets recorded, sent to DPS, gets coded, and gets to us, there can be incomplete data within a 6-month time period.
So the last 2 fatalities that happened there may not be in the database yet.
Those should be included, yes.
Okay.
And our data the data that I provided you with today is 5-year data.
Uh-huh.
So there's been 42 collisions in the past 5 years, resulting in 2 fatalities is what I have.
Right.
So there was 2 fatality accidents. If there were multiple fatalities in one collision, then that could be the discrepancy in the numbers.
Oh, I see. So you're reporting
Number of collisions.
Number of collisions with fatalities.
Yes.
And if there's multiple fatalities in one collision, then...
Correct.
Okay, so we could have a school bus full of children get killed, and that would be...
No, there's different...
I mean, you see where I'm going. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out. So it's a dangerous intersection.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And there have been just from what I've been able to look, and again, this is on the internet, so it has to be true, right?
Yes, sir.
And,
I understand.
you know, with all that goes along with that. But you know, when I do news searches for our news media, the local media, Channel 9, our Guthrie news page, Channel 4, Channel 5, the local people that report on those kind of things. Just since I've been county commissioner since January of 2015, there have been at least 4 people killed at that intersection, which, you know, it doesn't matter whether it happened in one accident.
Correct.
Exactly. I mean, we need to fix that. And since and this goes back quite a ways, what I was able to find went back to 1990. And since 1990, my total looked like there's been probably around a dozen people that have died at that intersection. And so we really appreciate everything that you guys are doing to help us expedite getting that signal in there, because we think that'll help. But I also understand that the education part of it, and we need the support of our law enforcement, which I know we're going to get to help slow people down through there, because that intersection is really bad and really dangerous, and people do kind of sleep through that thing, and they get complacent, and especially those turn lanes. Those are the ones that are the problem. Turning into oncoming traffic on both sides, going left and right. But I appreciate the explanation. That makes more sense to me now. So I have a better reading on the fatality thing.
One comment with regard to the turn lanes, you know, I mean, you know, because Portland is a permissive turn right now, and the signal will make that a protected turn. They will not have a permissive movement, so they will have to stop, you know, and provided they're obeying the signal and the light, you know, they will have to stop, and they won't be allowed, you know, to turn until that green arrow comes up and says you can't turn.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the accidents have happened, are in that failure to yield, making a permissive movement, which the recent video of the recent accident out there showed, where there was a van vehicle in front, and the next guy just followed behind, probably didn't see the car, and then just gets smashed.
Right. And so for the public, and I know the board knows Mr. Ron Caldwell. He's engineer for the traffic engineer for District 3.
The superintendent there. Mm-hmm.
Superintendent. Actually, he's the guy that's in charge of making everything work for Ray and that group over there. Mm-hmm. I've got to work with him on several projects before. And you're working to help cut down the cost and expedite the time. You're working with ODOT.
And working with Brian, doing some legwork on the ground out there, trying to identify what's available. And
I know you're heartbroken we can't put a roundabout in right there.
Someday in the future, maybe when the whole corridor goes down from 55 to 45.
Right. We really do appreciate y'all's help. I've talked with Ray extensively about this. Go ahead, Mike.
Did I hear something about a 4-way stop there, that you were going to try to stop 74?
Well,
did I hear something about that? I thought I did.
There has been a
Here
conversation, and the conversation's been just with the chief traffic engineer.
Sure.
And at this time, we're not looking at doing a 4-way stop before we do a signal. One of the reasons why you would consider it, and we're not considering it, is because it increases the learning curve.
Yes.
And there is a learning curve that's involved with traffic signals. For instance, several years ago, I went to go look at a new signal installation that I was a part of putting in. And my first time through it, I ran it, and I went over there to look at it. So it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And so when you go to a signal light, generally your accidents elevate for the first 2 to 3 months, sometimes 6 months, until there's an adjustment. And that is because it's hard to break habits. We're human beings, and there's habits.
Yeah.
So if you went to a 4-way stop before you went to a traffic signal, you're still going to have people blowing through it like there was never a stop, but now you've got people stopped instead of having a green on somebody blowing through. So that was under consideration. I do not believe that we're going to do that, but that's still being discussed.
I agree with that assessment.
Yes, sir.
for this work.
The other thing, oh, go ahead, Marty.
Oh, I was just gonna ask about maintenance. I understand that the county
That's what I was
has to take
gonna bring up.
maintenance.
Yes, sir. The state of Oklahoma, the Department of Transportation does not maintain any signal lights anywhere in the state of Oklahoma. As part of our administrative code, we're required to enter into a maintenance agreement with the county. In this case, there's multiple counties. And so we already have a maintenance agreement in place at that location because there was a maintenance agreement for the beacons. And we believe that we can use that existing maintenance agreement to go forward without having to execute a new one. And basically that shifts the burden of maintenance and utility payment to the county. How much that's going to be, it could be zero for maintenance for several years. It could also end up being, you could have a controller go out and it could be up to 15,000. So a number, just a round number, I'm looking at is your utility bill's probably going to run around $1,000 a year. I think your maintenance would probably come in average over the lifetime of it, maybe $4,000. So you're looking at maybe $5,000 maximum a year to operate one. Are those fair numbers?
It's about right, yeah. Where our power bills, for the 4 signals that we currently, operate and maintain, run about $90 to $120 a month. So $1,000, $1,200 a year. But one thing about Portland Avenue, and I don't know what it is about that section of Highway 74, maybe because there's no tall metal structures anywhere out there. We deal with a lot of lightning hits. Knocking out bulbs and controllers and conflict monitors, and the power supply always goes out. So we put battery backup in there, and when the power goes out, the signals will go into a 4-way flash mode, and that's our indication that we need to go out and notify OG&E and get the power restored out there. In 4-way flash mode, the signals will usually operate for 2 to 4 days on the batteries alone. So and obviously when the power's out, the overhead illuminating lights will not work at nighttime. So.
We've agreed to install, it's not common practice, but we've agreed to install battery backups at this location. It's not a bad idea in rural locations. Typically most of the power out there is overhead power, so ice storm, tornado, whatever, lightning strike, those types of things. We're more than happy to add that as part of the project, which will be 100% financed by the Department of Transportation.
So Brian, when you say administrative code, you mean department regulation?
It would be Title 69 and then also Title 730. 730 would be the administrative code, Title 69 would be the statute.
Right. So the title excludes the Department of Transportation from that, or is that something that your regulation references as the ability to do that? I'm just kind of curious.
It's both. Both of them are there. The same area that you operate under in the administrative code, we're in the same section.
Right.
And then in state statute, it calls out our responsibilities in those.
Okay. All righty. So I'm good with all that. What we will need to do as a board, though, is come together in the next month or so with Oklahoma County and go over our interlocal cooperative agreement for the maintenance of that. Currently, I'll just announce the board. Currently, Oklahoma County is 100% responsible for all that the way it's written, and I'm sure they would like for us to have some skin in the game for having a light there.
I can tell that.
Well, I think we all kind of do too, but
Bree works.
they've been pretty good about working with us on a really good cost share on fixing roads along Waterloo Road. It's not a 50-50 split, is what I'm getting at, and I think that we may be able to come to some agreement like that with them as well.
Can I get a copy? Can you email me a copy of that agreement you have with ODOT?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I've got a copy. I can
That's
send
it,
it to Troy, and she can get it out to the
Yeah,
board.
there you go. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think you sent it to me.
I thought that I did,
Yeah,
but
you did.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can double check and make sure.
That's where I knew that had happened.
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
okay, I appreciate both of y'all coming here today.
No problem.
We don't have a decision on the agenda to talk about
No,
a cooperative agreement, and I wanted the other two members to understand what we need to do and have time to think about it before we
Right.
start making decisions.
Right.
This isn't like up at 23rd Street where they pass something out and say you got to vote on it right now.
Yeah,
We're not going to do that.
Just discussion. I know there's future signals coming along Waterloo. You know, one at Sooner Road for your district. There's been I've heard some grumblings about maybe one at Broadway or Coltrane. You know.
Yeah, Broadway's kind of a unique intersection.
Yes. Yeah. It was the drainage. I think Creek's kind of right near that one, and so anyway, but you know.
I'm not sure we have as many fatalities at Broadway, but
No.
we have a lot of fender benders there.
Yeah, yeah, it's a four-way stop. You know, speeds are slow, and that's why the severity of the accidents aren't as high as they are at Waterloo 74.
Anything else, Mike?
Nah, just Waterloo, every intersection's a stop sign, seems like, so, you know, it's hard to
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike?
No,
Level Road, let's
there we
go.
go.
Yeah, the good news for Level Road is we've got, the railroad yard is finishing up. I believe he's poured the bridge deck, so we're probably waiting on the concrete to cure before we can, do the approaches. And we've got a overlay schedule for it to let in February. Probably have a delayed start, so it'll be our early spring overlay, and we'll get that done for you. Excited about it, and glad to be a partner in it.
So to wrap up, we're looking at the possibility of having the traffic signal there in late 2019, early 2020.
That would be our goal and objective. We would like to beat the 2020 date that
Yeah.
is in our bullets.
Okay.
And we believe that we have some ideas that we need to expand upon to make that happen.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming and visiting with us.
Thank you for the invite.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is back to the four-way stop at 74 and Waterloo. In following what you said with the education and the learning curve, when you make a traffic change, it takes a little bit. If you were to do the four-way stop for the next year, would that not be your education process
That could be part of the
for the
education.
stoplight?
The problem with the four-way stop at this location are the volumes are so much different. So you have 10,000 vehicles a day on 74 and 2,600 or close to 3,000, and that creates delay. And delay also creates poor decisions because people aren't willing to make that delay, or I say their gap acceptance changes. And it's a difference of, do we go through the education with a four-way stop, or do we go through the education with the traffic signal? Both of them were going to overwhelm the public with information as far as changeable message signs in advance, the big boards that we put out messages. It's going to be an education effort. At this time, the chief traffic engineer is not recommending a four-way stop prior to the signalization. And his main reason for that is there's such a big difference in volumes.
And big trucks.
There is big trucks.
One comment about four-way stops on some of the counters that I use, you know, in the county. Our counters are digital. We pick up, you know, speed, volume, type, you know, and from some of that, based on where I set the counter just a little bit back from the stop bar, it helps me determine how bad the backup is during certain time segments, because I get 15-minute count reports and speed reports. It's pretty disturbing to see at 100 feet from the stop bar, vehicles going 65 miles an hour through a four-way stop at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, when people do have line of sight and they don't want to stop, they don't. And that's a bad decision. And so the four-way stop sometimes can also give people on the side roads a false sense of security that vehicles are going to stop.
Correct.
So,
Hey, can I get a quick update on the 105 engineering, when you think that would be coming?
Sure, we awarded the contract on from the intersection of 105 and 33 out to the east. We awarded it to EST. EST has, they're supposed to be submitting their 30% plan review in the near future. At that 30% plan review, if you're interested, I'll be more than happy to have you to the meeting and you can visit. You can. One of the interesting things we're doing is we're going to build a third lane or a center turn lane on 105 all the way out for about, I don't want to misspeak, but I'm thinking it's between 1 mile and 2 miles. And once you get out of the heavy residential area that exists now, we're going to transition back into a 2-lane with full shoulders. There will be some vertical corrections, but this job stops just short of hitting the big hills. Now, the nice thing about that area is we recently completed an overlay, Haskell Lemon overlaid 105.
Appreciate that.
Through the county. I was really pleased with the work. So we're trying to invest in 105 is one of those surprises to me when I first got here. I wouldn't have told you that it carried as much traffic as it carries. And much to my surprise, that area is another area that's developing really fast.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that we were able to get something into the program to address that growth.
Yes, sir. That would be post, right?
Yes, sir.
Is one step. So we're looking forward to that, and I would be it would be much appreciated if I could attend.
We will make sure you're on the invite list.
Yeah, because
Yes, sir.
people are constantly hitting me up
Yeah.
about that intersection.
Well, it's something to be excited about.
Yes,
As
sir.
part of that project, we're also going to signalize that
Yes, sir.
intersection.
Yes, sir.
Add some nice left turn lanes and,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
It'll be nice once it's done. Yes, sir.
We're not, by no means, we're a small state, but we're a big state highway wise.
Yes, sir.
We're about 27th in population, but we're between California and Florida in the number of miles that we maintain. As a result, it's hard for a population our size to support a transportation system our size. It takes us a while, but we have the 8-year construction work plan is a data-driven process. It's not political. Our data drives it, and that's what's nice about it. Is we look at those accidents, we look at traffic volumes, we look at the geometrics, we look at percent trucks. All that factors into, and it helps me because the next town I go to speak at, they're keeping score too, and so they want to know where they are. And I have to be able to defend every project in that plan. And I can easily defend 105.
I bet you can.
Monty maintains as many road miles as Vermont.
There you go.
Okay, so
There
I
you
just
go.
thought I'd throw that in.
More than you guys.
I got
Keep giving me more.
just so you know, I have 1,144 bridges that I'm responsible for. I have 1,400 miles of 2-lane and 235 miles of interstate. But that's what I'm over the day-to-day operations of those.
And a little over 400 of those bridges are ours.
Well, those are just own system.
Yeah, well, those,
Yes, sir.
we got about 400 county bridges that we maintain
Yes,
as
sir.
well. So
Yes, sir.
as far as geography,
It's a chore, isn't it?
being in that little river that runs through here, being in that basin, north and south, is kind of problematic as far as bridges.
Yes,
But,
sir.
We do appreciate you coming in, Brian. Appreciate you being brave enough to come in knowing you're gonna get a little rotten fruit thrown at you. That's life in ODOT though, I think.
Yes, sir.
And as county commissioners, we all kind of deal with that too from time to time. Again, thank you all for your help, and we'll schedule a meeting to talk about
Something in the future.
interlocal cooperative
Mhm.
on maintaining that signal.
We can probably include it, you know, with our annual, you know, mutual cooperation agreements that we do. You know,
Okay.
we can just amend that.
Sometime in
It happens every June.
June timeframe, yeah.
Yeah, it changes new one every fiscal year.
Okay, all right.